your documentary.
Okay.
Okay, actually I'm playing now.
Determine what we allow ourselves to perceive.
This is made by Suzanne.
The way we think right now is failing us.
To stand up for entirely new and unfamiliar realities requires a lot of heroism.
It was only, what, 1620 that they put Galileo on house arrest?
Everyone found it astonishing that these complicated works of art, sometimes as big as 2 football fields, were turning up in crop fields overnight. In fact, eyewitnesses say the patterns take only seconds to lay down.
We've got this breathtaking beauty. This is phenomenon A. Phenomenon B is that the world can ignore it.
Yes, there are man-made formations, but the totality of it is such that there has to be something bigger at work here.
The first time I walked into a circle, it was like, oh my God, what has the power to do this?
In terms of the real world as it is, it's groovy.
And I sit and think about it, I mean, that whole concept in coded geometrical designs of weave all around it.
The most successful areas of research in crop formations are undoubtedly geometry and mathematics, because it's about the unfolding of the mathematical or geometrical structure within creation.
You cannot take crop circles in isolation. They're a tip of a multi-tipped iceberg, and they connect up with UFOs, they connect up with psychic phenomena.
Governments, armies, church does not want this out in the world because it changes the world, it changes humanity.
Is the crop circle phenomenon going to unite us as one humanity in relation to other intelligent life? Will we become better stewards of the planet and we live in peace?
That is so gorgeous. You look at that and you think, what on earth made that?
Hi, Suzanne?
Yes, I'm here. I went to go get something. I had a little prop I want to show you, so I forgot to get it.
We just finished a trailer for your movie.
Oh, good.
Okay, will we start the presentation now?
Yes. Now, do we still want me to talk for 20 minutes? Shall I look at my clock and time 20 minutes? Yeah? You tell me.
The audience?
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
20 minutes? Okay.
Yeah?
Sure.
So, hello, Singapore.
Hello.
Hello.
I am in contact with people all over the world, except nobody in Singapore. So you're my first Singapore audience. And hello.
It's an honor to have you with us.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You know, I am the person, probably of all people, who has the most interest in telling the world about crop circles. I have been involved with them for many years, starting in the late 80s. And, you know, I'm aware of the fact I'm speaking English in Singapore. Everybody speaks English, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you all? Yes, that's wonderful. So, anyway, so since the late 80s, I have been getting more and more a sense of mission. Like, if I'm going to do anything important with my life, I'm going to tell the world about crop circles because they can be really important to changing the way we think. This December 21 that we've all been looking forward to, you know, everybody says, well, what's going to happen in the world? Is something going to happen? Is it really meaningful? Well, I think that fact that we've been asking that question is what's meaningful, because it lets us all think together about life. What would happen if it were true, and if something new so many years ago, what would happen? What does that mean about the world? What does that mean about us? And is it the end of the world? Or does that really mean it's the beginning of the next better way the world will be? Is it the death of a bad world and the beginning of a good world? Well, these are all the questions that we've been asking, all of us, all over the world. And it's wonderful to have a question that we all ask together. And that's one of the reasons why I think these crop circles can be so important. Because they give us something that we all can think about together, especially if we discover that really they are not being made by us. When I say that, I shouldn't say we discovered that. We have already discovered that. But the world, when I say we, the people who really understand what's going on with the crop circles, we all know that there's a real phenomenon. And if the world really knew that, if you woke up in the morning and it said contact in headlines, it means that we have discovered for real that there's life outside this planet. Everybody in the world would be in that conversation. We all would be trying to figure out what's going on. What should we do? How do we react? We don't have anything that we can all talk about together. So that's why this December 21 seems like a very good thing. It's been bringing up all these questions about who we are, what can happen, what should we do? Well, the same thing with crop circles. You know, the other thing that is really wonderful about them is that we are in such a little narrow viewpoint about the world, our worldview. We talked about this in the movie. Scientific materialism is the name that we've given to this perspective, where science is the only thing that matters, and science only looks at things that you can put under a microscope, that you can experiment with. Science doesn't look at things like consciousness, things that can't be pinned down. Look, I'm going to show you some. This is the prop that I went to get. Science can't deal with this either. So here's my prop. It still has the price tag on it. I have a friend who bends spoons. You can't see this, but this is a stainless steel spoon. I cannot bend this, but it was straight when my friend brought it here. It's a cooking spoon, and he can just like that bend spoons. Well, there's more to reality than normal science can tell us. There's other forces going on, and the good thing about that is that we are so, in the way that we think, we are so violent with one another. We are so destructive to the earth. We're thinking in these little boxes. Well, it's a much bigger universe that we just don't deal with. And that's where the crop circles are coming from this bigger place, wherever it is. Is it another dimension? Is it ETs? We don't know. We don't really know what's going on beyond us, except something is. It's not all as ordinary or objective. It's not all as objective as we come to accept. But then, when we think about the crop circles and how do we really know that we are dealing with something that is outside our ordinary reality, how do we know it's not just people that are going out into the fields and stomping them down? Because we have a lot of that. You know, there are a lot of circles that are hoax. You know, I think of it like, I don't know if you have museums over there where people set up easels and they copy paintings They're art students or artists who are copying paintings. But they'll sit in front of a Rembrandt and they'll make something that really looks like a Rembrandt. But it's not a Rembrandt, it's a copy. And that's what the hoaxers are doing. The hoaxers are making these copies of something that's real, something that you can't account for. And but interestingly, the way we know that for sure is science. We've taken the material from the crop circles, both the plants and the soil, and we've taken it into the laboratory. There have been scientific experiments that have been very, very expensive. They're done with scientific protocols. They're not just, casual little fly-by-night kind of endeavors. They're very serious scientific experiments to see if there really is a real phenomenon. There's a wonderful website that has all of the work that's been done. It's bltresearch.com. And all of the science, there are reports there, and when you read it, you just are astonished at the biological changes to the plants and the chemical changes to the soil. And that's how you know that you really are dealing with a mysterious occurrence and not something that has been stomped down. It's really, if there is something real going on, when I say real, I mean beyond people. Going back to the idea of what that would do to us, we don't have anything to relate to except ourselves. We are the only intelligence in the universe that we have proved. We have lots of science fiction, but we've never proved that there's anything besides ourselves to the satisfaction of the world, of how the world thinks that proof would come. In fact, the world isn't paying attention. It isn't paying attention to this proof about the crop circles. But as long as, we don't really know if there's any other life, we just deal with one another. But just think, if that idea of contact were in headlines, yes, we have proved to the satisfaction of the powers that be, the government, the scientific community, the larger community. They've paid attention to the evidence. They've read the papers that have been written about these scientific experiments. Those papers have been in peer-reviewed science journals. I mean, that's how we take our authority, and yet we're ignoring these things. But if the world paid attention and the consensus was, yes, we are being visited, just think, everybody would be thinking about the other. Who are they? Who are we? We thought we were the only intelligence in the universe. If we're not, oh, that would humble us. And wouldn't that be good? We are so arrogant. We're so destructive to the planet and so violent with one another. But if all of a sudden, we are dealing with other, we must bow down in a way because they're visiting us. We're not visiting them. They're ahead of us. We're not only now not the only intelligence, but we're not the highest intelligence. Would that change the way we think about ourselves? And don't we have to change the way we think? Just like on this December 21 date of some kind of major change, well, wouldn't it be wonderful if we would think about ourselves as loving and think about a new beginning to being human, where we no longer are so dangerous to the world? Well, that's what we're all hoping for. We're all hoping that we come into a different consciousness somehow. And again, just dealing with one another, engaging in all of this inquiry, all this curiosity. Curiosity would save the world. The world that, we all are real nervous about, that we really can destroy it. We've gotten so good at that. Well, curiosity would get us out of that. Wondering, what could be going on? What's out there? What's in the bigger picture? we are so sure of, this is the way it is, and science, of course, is wonderful. You don't want to be critical of science as if science is an enemy. It's not an enemy, but it's too limited in the way we think, and we've just got to get to another way of thinking. The last time that we had such a big change in the way we thought about reality was Copernicus and Galileo. Before that, Earth was the center of the universe, and it made us tremendously important to ourselves. We had kings then and serfs. The idea was that we were so. It was an idea of hierarchy. We were the best. We were the center of the universe, and all of our systems were set up as hierarchical, top down. Just like if we were if we were in the middle of the universe, we would be at the top, and everything would be beneath us. So the whole world socially was set up to mirror that, or it was that way. These are not exactly conscious things we do, but they're the way things evolve out of the way we see the world. So if now, that was hundreds of years ago, we discovered we're not the center of the universe, and in a way that is too long to deal with, but from kings, we have democracy. We have more equal kinds of ways we run the world now that we're not the center of the universe. Well, if we were not the only intelligence in the universe, that would be the next humbling thing that would make us rethink who we are we in relation to everything, and it would be the chance for us to come out in this new way of cooperation and caring, just like we hope for the best, if it is true that December 21st, something's going to happen. We don't have long to wait now, do we? But if really something was going to happen, we're asking, is it the end, is it the beginning? And if it's the beginning, it's the same kind of beginning that we might have if the world accepted the fact that these crop circles are a real phenomenon. So, one more thing I would want to say about this different point of view is that we would be going from a Newtonian mechanistic perspective where everything is right and wrong, up and down, everything is dualistic now. But science itself has gone beyond that. Well, we haven't caught up. A complex society, a complex world, has all the gears in place. Everything is running. It's not simple. And so to change everything, first of all, the power structure doesn't want to change everything because they're the power structure. They want to stay in power. Changing everything is, what they say, of course they say, if something, the way things change at that big, meta level, the big changes, they say, or they look back historically, and they see that terrible destruction, ice age, things that are so terrible that the world can't recover, the world can't run the same way anymore, that's what changes the world. And, there's a lot of agreement there that, this terrible way we can be with one another that might result in some awful catastrophe, that's when the world could change. Just like December 21. Is it the end of the world? And, they wonder if it's the real end to everything. Or is it just the end of the old, So, this Newtonian perspective that we take our worldview from, back to, Newton hundreds of years ago, where we were living in a mechanistic, predictable universe. Everything was cause and effect. Well, science has shown us now, for a long time actually, back in the last century, the beginning of the last century, we started to understand that it's a quantum world. In a quantum world, everything is interdependent, everything is interrelated, everything is is one, really. It's a perspective on the world in which we can see that nothing is, it isn't this makes that, it's this. And we are more one humanity, and that's what we really need to experience ourselves as. Well, the way we understand ourselves, or the way that no, that's not the right way to say it. The way we design things is based on the idea that we have. If we understand the idea is that we're in a Gaian world, a world of emergence, a world where everything isn't fixed, but everything is developing. That's the world in which we can embrace things like otherness, things like not being the only intelligence in the universe, things like being one humanity in relation to one another, not enemies. So it's so important for us to really understand that we are in this quantum perspective, because without the idea, we don't change anything. If we think we're in the right perspective, we have the right idea about how the world works, that's how we design everything. And that's how we have designed everything. So we're in the Newtonian design, even though we understand that we're in the quantum world. And so the reason I get so excited about the crop circles is because they can make us change our perspective. They can, oh my goodness, we have to think again. We're not the only intelligence. What does that mean? And that would be so good for us. You know, before I was interested in the crop circles, I was interested in all those questions. I still am. I used to produce programs in Los Angeles that had to do with consciousness. How do we think? How can we think differently? You know, we've been dealing with these things. You know, you people were all born into the world where we were dealing with these things, not me. This was the human potential movement that we called it here. I don't know what you called it there, or if you had a name for it, but in the it came out of the 60s, where we had all of our hippies and our psychedelics, and you know, that started to change the way some people were thinking. And then the human potential movement came out of that, with all of the psychology and all of the personal growth and self-development. And so we have been looking for these answers to who we are for a long time now. And what I've been encouraging is that people really understand. I've been trying to get on the media. We're trying to do a reality show about the crop circles. So, as I said, the crop circles were just a tool of mine, and they sort of took me over, because making movies is a very labor-intensive and all-consuming. And so I stopped producing the programs that I was producing about all these other ways that we can change the way we think. And lately I've been, in the last few years, I've been very much the crop circle queen, they call me. But I've been the crop circle person. But I'm only the crop circle person because they can change the world, and the world needs changing. So that's the way I get to do things like this. See, you wouldn't have known that I was somebody to talk to unless I had a movie about crop circles. So it's very useful to me to have this. But what I'm really interested in is consciousness, and how consciousness can change. And this December 21 is a time when, you know, maybe consciousness will change. We've been focused so much on it. And, you know, the world moves slowly, but it moves in a more, there's an argument about that actually. The Newtonian world thinks it's all accidental, it's all random, we're not going anywhere, we're not evolving as a world. But in the quantum perspective, all we are doing is evolving. We're just opening to more and more, to greater understanding, to more of our fundamental nature, which is, as human beings, we're so, you know, we're at the edge of evolution. We're the most sophisticated creatures on Earth. And this is such a privilege we're the only species that can appreciate the creation. All of the other species are run on instinct. So here we are, really in this privileged position, but we are so small-minded. We have to open our minds to a bigger mind. And so the crop circles have just been my tool to get me in the door, to get me to have a way to make talks. But what we really need to do really is to be seeing the world different and treating each other differently. You know, it's urgent that we treat each other differently before we do something really that we can't recover from. You know, we're too good at that. Our consciousness has not kept up with our mechanistic capacities. And so all of my advocacy now, and you all can be doing this also, is to get this conversation to be happening, to get us to understand that this Newtonian perspective is old news. We've got to come into a more, a bigger picture of reality in which crop circles are real, in which we acknowledge that some people can even do what's impossible because it's not, we're not limited to this little world view. There's a bigger universe going on. And you know what I would love? I write about this kind of thing all the time, and I find the most interesting things that other people have written, and I put them on my blog, and then I'll put the things that other people have written, and then I'll write about why I think this is so world-changing. My blog is full of the most fascinating things you ever will read, and you can all get on my mailing list. The blog is called theconversation.org, theconversation.org, and you easily can see where to sign up on the mailing list. And I don't send out a lot. I don't clog your inbox. But what I do send out is really interesting food for thought about how we need to change the world and how we can change the world. And it's me, and then people write in and make comments. And it's a very hot spot. So it would be wonderful if all of you would sign up for it. You can stay tuned in with me and then tell me things, you know, tell me the kind of things you are thinking or you are discovering. So I would like that very much. You know, what we're trying to do, just to catch you up on the crop circles, we're trying to get a reality show to happen this this summer, this coming summer. There's a startling new development. There's a 100,000-pound reward being offered this summer for anyone who can follow certain guidelines and reproduce the biggest crop circle ever. And they would have to do it so that it came out comparable to the way it came in. I don't know if you have reality shows in Singapore. You probably do, because I think they've taken over television. At least they have in the States and in England. But a good reality show, not a junky one, because some of them are awful. But we're trying to get a reality show about the crop circles and this challenge. Because either way it comes out, it's really interesting. If it comes out that nobody can do it, I think the world will pay a little bit of attention. We need the world's attention on what's going on. As I say, we've already proved in science that something outside ordinary reality is happening. We're not making all those crop circles. So if nobody can take that much money, I don't know how much it is in Singapore money, but it's about $160,000, $170,000 in American money and 100,000 pounds in English money. That's so much money that if they can do it, you think they would. So if nobody can do this, it's pretty much good evidence that I think the media will pay attention to. And then again, if they show they can do it, wow, that will be the biggest hoax ever perpetrated on humanity. Do you know they're in like 40 countries? We haven't heard about any in Singapore, but they've been going on for decades. We've had 5,000 or so since the 70s when they first started counting. and really examining them. And they go back hundreds of years also when they weren't keeping very good track. So is this all being done by people? Well, if they can show that it is, what a story. So we're hoping we can convince, the powers that be to give us a reality show. If anybody over there wants to fund a reality show, be in touch. But we're trying to get this to happen this summer. And, I would love it if all of you would tune in with me and keep tracking this and then spread the word to, the people you're in touch with about the fact that there's something worth paying attention to. That's the next move, paying attention to what's already been discovered. That will change the world, that will let people know that there's something beyond the beyond, there's something beyond our little narrow belief system, and it will get us all thinking together, and that's the best thing that can happen. That's the best thing that can happen that's the best thing that I think has happened out of this interest in December 21st. And going on from here, it's definitely, thinking together is absolutely the best thing that can happen in the world. So, hopefully you'll also be interested in getting my movie. PropCircleMovie.com is where you can go, send your friends, you'll see the trailer there. And also, we'd love it if you would buy our DVD. I don't know if you must get iTunes, we're also on iTunes. So the more people understand about crop circles, the better chance we have of changing the world, and that's what I'm interested in, and I hope I get all of you to be interested in it as well. So what do you think now? Is this a time we can maybe take some questions?
Yes, any questions from the floor? Yes, there's one.
What time is it?
It's 6:30 in the morning.
Hi, good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
I'm Tushar. Actually, I want to say actually that was a very thought-provoking presentation you just gave.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, because when you touch on curiosity, actually it's a very important point, because curiosity is something we all born with as children. But then as as we grow up through the education system and everything, we kind of get started until we are kind of like stuck in a, I would call it a lab coat syndrome, because we just accept what the mainstream scientific community gives us, and then we just take it as it is. So we have stopped learning to ask critical questions, and that element of critical thinking is no longer there. I mean, I myself have been to a public education system also, and it's like you go through a kind of okay, sorry. Yeah, so no, it's
No, that's good. It's good to hear our thoughts. It's good. It's glad to hear what you think.
I know. It's just that we here also. So actually, I just really want to just leave a comment, because what you said was very powerful. So just one question I want to ask. These crop circles, they seem to have, there's such a precision to what they are created. I mean, do you have any ideas how exactly how they are created? I mean, they are not by the real crop circles. Thank you.
Well, the only thing that we know, or we think we've identified, is the actual force that bends the crop. And that's microwave energy that is freely available in the world. It's just a question of how do you harness it, how do you make it work for you, and that we don't know. All we have to determine is, best we think, is that's what actually softens the crop and bends the crop. And beyond that, there are things we absolutely don't know. What we can say is we don't make them, but when we go past that, how, more specifically, how do they design them? How does that work? We don't know. We just don't know until they tell us. We're helpless to know these things. We've never identified anything besides ourselves that can do such a thing, except in science fiction. And, we just can't take it past Would we like to know? Yeah.
Another question. So I just want to show them the contest, the crop circles. This is the one, Catherine Wills, the one on 2001. That's the contest.
That's that biggest one ever, yes, that the contest is going.
So anyone game for recreating this crop circle, here's email, Suzanne.
You know, we end the movie with this, and what you see is, if you can picture this, you're above a helicopter, and a helicopter is above one circle, it looks like, one little circle. And then the camera pulls up, till the helicopter gets very small, and it's just a little pinprick, and you see this enormous thing. You know, I don't know if you know the size of a football field. I don't know how much it is in feet. But the way we understand in the United States how big it is we say it is the size of 2 football fields. That's huge. So, yes, that is the biggest one ever. And it came in a rainstorm, in a heavy rainstorm, in the 4 hours of darkness in England at night. And that will be what the challenge, the contest will be based on. People will have to do something that replicates that.
Suzanne, when you're making the documentary, any experience that you have encountered, like because as you know, pseudoscience UFO are not widely accepted topics in the world. So any problem you encounter during your experience of producing this movie?
No, I did. You know, you can do whatever you want to do. You make a movie about anything. The problem is dealing online with this subject matter, because the hoaxers in the last couple of years have really become very vicious. It used to be that they were just a pain in the neck. You know, you do a lot of work on trying to figure out what a circle is all about, or formation is all, and then you discover it's hoax. Oh, you know. But the hoaxers didn't want the world to think that there was no real phenomenon. They weren't trying to kill the phenomenon or, you know, convince the world that there wasn't any phenomenon. Because then, as they say that the reason they do it is that they are artists, and wheat is their canvas, or barley, or whatever. And they want people to see their beautiful artwork. And if people didn't think there was something mysterious going on, they wouldn't have the kind of tourists they have now. So the hoaxers were never trying to eliminate the idea that there was a real crop circle phenomenon. But that's changed in the last couple of years. And you can't say anything good online about crop circles, like me or anybody else who shows up in some kind of chat where people can respond or comment back. And if you say something good about crop circles, that you love them or you believe them, that there's something real going on, immediately they seem to be monitoring everything, and immediately you'll get something that says, oh, you're lying, you know they're all fake, you're just in it for the money. That's what they typically say now. It's kind of humorous if you looked at the people who really are devoted to this in England. They've given up very successful careers of other sorts because they're so fascinated by this, and they are writing the books and producing the conferences and taking the pictures and what have you. And they're all poor. I mean, they're all just, you know, barely making it. It's very expensive to fly, to take the pictures, or begging for money. And so when the hoaxers say, oh, you're all in it for the money, I mean, they also don't know about making independent film. When you make an independent film, it's usually a passion project. It's not like a big Hollywood movie that you conceivably are going to make a fortune on. If you break even on an independent film, you're lucky. And you certainly don't do it for the money. So these people, you know, start yelling. But that's almost the nicest way. They're vulgar. They send around just horrible, disgusting kind of communications. Because they're rather disgusting people. They're not nice people. They're deceptive people. They're trying to fool you. So, you know, that's what's, you know, going on in the world with the crop circles now. We're under real vicious attack. So more important than ever to get people to pay attention to the real thing, the real evidence that's going on, and not let these hoaxers destroy, you know, the image that the world has. So I didn't have any trouble making the movie. You know, I'm very involved in the phenomenon. I'm not a filmmaker who found a subject. I'm a subject that said, I've got to make film about this because that's the way you tell the world about anything. And, you know, I knew who the most interesting people were. I knew who had the best stories. I wasn't like an observer kind of coming over and saying, well, what's this all about? I'll take pictures of whatever. I knew what to take pictures of that would be the most interesting. And I didn't have any trouble doing that at all. And, you know, it was just getting out in the world now where, whoa, the world is not all so curious or so accepting. So we have a little trouble out there. But, you know, the world is changing also. There is more openness and curiosity. You know, if you ask people now about whether they believe that there's other life, I think there's a high percentage of people who think, yes, there must be. It's just that when it gets really close and you think, oh, is this it? That's scary. But that will change things too much. So, you know, we don't really investigate. But the idea that there is other life, I think, is, you know, probably way, way up there. I think most people would think the universe is so vast. And, you know, the idea that we're the only life, it could be. The conditions for life are so specific, for advanced life particularly, are so minute and specific, and this planet has it. Maybe we are the only ones, but maybe not. More likely because of, well, more likely. It's just so vast that it's hard to believe that it will come down to just this little planet with we're the only ones. But you know, this is the big challenge now to you know, to establish the fact that there's more than us. And, you know, I love my bed spoons, I love my crop circles, I love all the evidence that there's more going on. It just starts to open us to the very bigger pictures that we need to be open to, just like this December 21 has made us think about ourselves and who we are and what we're doing here.
Thank you, Susan. Any questions from the floor? Maybe the last question. This is my personal question. Do you think, and we have a few hours to 21st December, do you think that if UFO appears?
I hope we can meet again.
I mean,
on this side of reality.
UFOs or UFO aliens will just appear in front of us and say, okay, finally we come. We came or something on the 21st.
Well, wouldn't this be wonderful? You know what we say in the crop circle world? Come on, crop circle makers, put 1,000 of them down in one night, all over the world. Come on, come on. But maybe the world isn't ready, you know? Maybe what the crop circle people have been doing, the makers, the real mysterious makers, maybe they're just getting us to ask these questions about who we are in relation to other intelligence. Maybe that's the whole point, you know, of what they're doing, is just opening our minds, not so much, you know, if they really wanted us, if they thought we were ready for them, they would do 1,001 night, you know? I think they're getting us sensitized to the idea that it's a bigger world and getting us to be in conversation about things that are beyond scientific materialism. Maybe that's all they're doing. You know, people say, well, what's the point? What's the message? They ask it like maybe it's a jigsaw puzzle, and when we get the final piece, we'll have the message. I don't think so. I think they're just letting us know that we're not alone, and that would be the most important thing we could understand, and they just keep giving us evidence of it. You know, those circles are very carefully designed. They're not like snowflakes that are beautiful geometry, but accidental. They're carefully designed. Even 2011, even December 21, tomorrow, in 2008, we show a crop circle in the movie that has a solar system, like you're looking down on the rings of a solar system, and the planets are on it. And they're all in the date of December 21, 22. In 2008, like showing us, hello, we know you're looking to this date. We see you. We understand you. How come you don't get it that we're watching you? How come you don't see? We just sent you your December 21 date in a wheat field. So how come you don't know we're out here? So I think that's what they must be I say in my movie, they must be scratching whatever passes for their heads, wondering what's going on. So.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. I think it's it for us now. So call it a day for now.
Okay, well thank you all, and don't forget now you sign up for my mailing list. We'll stay in touch that way. Don't forget.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
You too. Thank you so much.
Again, love you. Having you with us, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, to you as well.
Okay. Bye bye.